Hey, welcome to Rygaard Creations. In this video, I'm going to show you another secret. A surprise that will be extremely useful and will change even more our work inside the customized room for the better. In my case, Rygaard Creations. Yeah, that's right. How to create another different and advanced type of custom right-click menu, which will be fully contextual according to the feature selected in 3DCoat, okay? Great. I'm talking about this other completely different right-click menu, which will show on the screen different functionalities according to the tools, brushes, or commands that are currently selected in the left panel of the interface, okay? I will open the rmb.cpp script through this button, Edit Script for the rmb action. In the main function, which is located right here, right now in the Rygaard Creations custom room, there is this conditional structure if vox3 object picket and vox3 item picket. And as we have seen before, if this conditional is false, the script goes to the next conditional structure, which in this case will be else, right? Right. So from now on, I will be able to better explain what's this show space panel function that will be executed, okay? This show space panel function is responsible for showing that different kind of contextual menu as soon as we right click on the polygons, or when we right click anywhere in the viewport. As you can see, inside the function show space panel, there are two different types of parameters, which are very important. Of course, the first parameter looks complicated, but actually it's very easy to understand. And the second parameter, for me, is being the most complicated. Because honestly, I don't know what this numeric value does. I have tested it many times with different values, but I couldn't identify what this little friend really does. Maybe it's the luck number. When I know, I will tell you. But if you know first, please let me know in the comments below what this numeric value really does. Great. The first parameter means exactly the name of the section that exists inside the left panel of the interface, okay? In this case, what happens when we right click is that, depending on the functionality that is activated and selected in the left panel of the interface, all tools, brushes, or commands that are inside the selected section, the command section, the whole mesh section can appear in a contextual way in the menu. Here, in the left panel, I don't know why, appears under the name entire mesh, and from the special section, okay? So, depending on the condition that exists for the corresponding feature selected here in the left panel, as a result, you may see all sections of the parameter or some sections, or just a single section inside the right-click menu, okay? One very important thing, please pay attention. The first parameter will only work correctly only if we add before the section name the asterisk, okay? And another important thing, the section name must be exactly the same as it appears in the left panel of the interface. This means that it matters and makes a difference the correct spelling of characters and numerals, if they exist, in the section name, okay? In the case of the whole mesh section that appears in the left panel with the name entire mesh, it could possibly be a bug within 3DCoat. Once again, I will warn you all. Never forget to add the asterisk before the section name and spell the section name that appears in the left panel of the interface correctly, okay? Great. Now that you understand how the show space panel function works, it's time to create the custom right-click menu, completely contextual depending on the features that are selected and activated in the left panel of the interface. The secret is finally be revealed. I will create inside this else condition different conditional structures to define the sections that will be shown contextually in the right-click menu depending on the room and feature selected, okay? First of all, I need to change this else conditional structure from just a command line to a block of commands. So, I will add the opening curly bracket and after the semicolon, the closing curly bracket. Great. Next, I will select this show space panel function until after the semicolon and simply press the delete key to delete. Inside this else command block, I will add all these codes. Yeah, that's it. I will save the script and I'm just kidding. I still have to explain all of this to you, right? Right. I would like to have specific menus according to the room I am in. But in this case, I have a custom hybrid room. So, how would 3DCoat know which room I would be in? That's simple. Just through the tools, brushes, or commands that I have selected specific to the room. To do this, I use the first conditional structure if is in room retuple, which means if we really are in the retuple or modeling room. But in the custom hybrid room Rygaard creations, meaning if any tool, brush, or command that belongs to the retuple or modeling room is selected, then all commands that are inside that conditional structure will be executed, okay? If it's true that I have a feature from the retuple or modeling room selected, then I would like to specify that if only a specific tool, brush, or command is selected, it will show a different specific contextual menu that I determine, okay? To do this, I created this conditional if structure, which has the isInTool function. That's the secret. To check if a certain functionality is selected. In this case, this conditional structure if isInTool retop to top to select and operate, or isInTool retop to top to cell transform, or isInTool retop to cell path. Means if we have the select tool selected, or if we have the select transform tool selected, or if we have the select path tool selected, it's only enough that one of these three conditions to be true for the command inside this if conditional structure to be executed. So, if I have select or select transform or select path, as a result, when I right click and depending on the type of the functionality selected, the contextual menu will be shown containing inside one, some, or all of the sections selected, commands, whole mesh, and special, okay? But if this conditional if structure is false, if select or select transform or select path are not selected, then the script goes to the next conditional structure else if isInTool retop to top to add points, which means if we have the points to polygons tool selected, then the function inside this if conditional structure will be executed. In this case, the points to polygon tool is selected, and by clicking the right mouse button, it will show the contextual menu with the functionalities of the sections Rygaard, commands, whole mesh, and special. But if this conditional if structure is false, then the script will go to the other conditional structure else. Which means if we select any other tool, brush, or command that belongs to the retopo or modeling room, and that is not select, select transform, select path, and points to polygons, then when you right click, the contextual menu will be shown containing the functionalities of the Rygaard and clay draw sections, okay? Great. But if no functionality belonging to the retopo or modeling room is selected, this would make this conditional structure if is in room retopo false. Then the script would go to the next conditional structure. Again, the same logic applies this time to the tools, brushes, and commands that are selected and belong to the scoped room. If we have any scoped room functionality selected, then the script will check this first conditional structure, which means if the move brush is selected. If this is true, then when I right click with the mouse, it will show the contextual menu with the functionalities of the curve section, okay? But if this conditional structure is false, just because the move brush is not selected, then the script will check the next conditional structure else if. This time, if the freeze tool is selected, then when I right click, it will show the contextual menu of the layers and the custom sections. If the freeze tool is not selected, then this if isn't to vox scoped to as scope as freeze conditional structure becomes false. And the script goes to the last conditional structure else. This else means if we have not selected the move brush and freeze tool functionalities, but we have selected any other feature that belongs to the scoped room, then when we right click, the contextual menu will be shown with the features of the Rygaard and layer section, okay? But if there is no feature select that belongs to the scoped room, then this if is room voxel's conditional structure becomes false. So the script goes to the last conditional structure else. This means that supposedly any feature that is selected and does not belong to the retopo, modeling, or scoped rooms, when we right click, it would show the contextual menu with the features of the Rygaard section. But in practice, this does not happen. For example, if I select any feature that belongs to the paint room, unfortunately, the contextual menu will not appear, okay? I think at the moment, it's not possible to have the right-click menu in the paint room viewport. Maybe because some tool must use the right mouse button to perform some operation. If anyone knows, please comment here below. Great. Before we continue, I need to tell you all something that is very, very important. I don't know if it's a limitation or some problem inside 3DCoat, but the fact is that I found out that depending on the size of the extension that will become the right-click menu, something very strange happens. What happens is that the contextual menu will appear normally in the viewport, with all the tools, brushes, and commands of the chosen sections. But when we try to select any of these features, unfortunately, it won't work. So, if this happens to you, I have a suggestion that works. The solution to get the contextual menu to work correctly again would be simply to use the show space panel function. In this first parameter, remove, if necessary, one section at a time, and test until the menu extension no longer causes problems, okay? Great. Now, it's time to prove to you that the changes I made here in this script are correct. This time, really, I will save this script, close it, go back to 3DCoat and click the OK button. I will start with the functionalities of the retuple or modeling room, okay? I can select any of these three selection tools because the result will be the same, or it can be a little different according to the tool selected, okay? So I will select the select tool, and when I right click, as you can see, I have successfully added the functionality of the commands selected and entire mesh sections. Entire mesh would be the whole mesh in the advanced contextual right click menu, right? Right. In the select transform tool, once again, the same functionality as in the commands selected and entire mesh sections appear here in the menu. And the select path tool, also in the menu, the functionalities of the commands selected and entire mesh sections appear. Now, I'm going to select the points to polygons tool. And when I click with the right mouse button, as you can see, I have successfully added in the menu all the functionalities of the Rygaard special and command sections, right? Right. This time, I will select this curves strokes tool from the retuple room, which I added here on the left panel, and clicking the right mouse button, the menu appears with the functionalities of the Rygaard and clay draw sections. So, take advantage that I have access to this right-click contextual menu. As you can see, this menu has a large extension. This means that I can now demonstrate the problem I mentioned about any menu that has a large extension not working here. Unfortunately, when I click on any feature inside the menu just doesn't work, okay? To get the menu working properly again, I would have to just remove one of these two sections that are inside the menu. Yeah, that's true. Unfortunately, I would have to remove either the Rygaard section or the clay draw section, so that the menu extension becomes smaller, and then it will work properly again, okay? Great. I will check what will happen to the menu in relation to the selected features in the left panel of the scope room. I'm going to select the move brush and right click. As you can see, I have successfully added inside the contextual menu the functionalities of the curve section, right? Right. The next tool is freeze tool. And by right clicking, the functionalities of the layers and custom sections appear inside this right-click contextual menu. Great. And now, when I select any other tool, brush, or command that belongs to scope to room, for example, I will select clay brush and right click on it. As you can see, I have added the functionality of the Rygaard and layer sections in the advanced right click contextual menu, right? Right. The next step is to select a tool from the paint room, like, for example, the brush. And when I click with the right button of the mouse, unfortunately, the menu with the functionalities of the Rygaard section does not appear. As I said before, I don't know the real reason for the contextual menu not appearing here in the viewport when I select a tool from the paint room. But it must be some paint room functionality that does not allow the menu to be shown here. But even with a paint room tool selected, if I right click on top of a layer in Scope 3, as you can see, I can get the other kind of advanced custom right click menu, right? Right. Great. I hope you have learned something new, and as always, I will see you all in the next video. See you there.